Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Friday. It's Friday, April 15th, 2022. Tax day. But anyway, aside from that, happy Friday. I hope that this Friday finds you healthy and safe. And I hope that you and your family are also healthy and safe, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food and shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met. Blessings upon those that are working in the healthcare field and the first responders who are trying every day to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us to keep streets, sidewalks, and parks clean and disease free. And those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women who are every day seeking to deliver and rescue the victims of child molestation and pedophilia, the victims of prostitution and child prostitution, of pornography and child pornography, those who are the victims of human trafficking and sex slavery, and double curses from the Most High upon those perpetrators, perverts, and profiteers who traffic in this human misery. Finally, blessings upon those that are homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children on the streets of the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. So, yesterday, we got some really good news. I don't know if anybody recognizes it because of the plethora of news that's out every day, attacking all of our senses. But in terms of Knicks Nation, between the president of basketball operations, Leon Rose, and Mark Berman, who we were fortunate enough to have interview with on Jay Ellis's and Ryan G's Nick of Time broadcast yesterday. I'm sure there'll be clips of that interview in media and Twitter and YouTube and so forth. It was a very good interview. And Mark provided us with some very important information for the New York Knicks. You see, brethren, we had not had a official position in terms of the direction of the Knicks. I kept putting out videos about what is the plan, what is the direction. Well, if you listen to everything in its totality, what Leon Rose put out, not only what he put out yesterday on Twitter and for the season ticket holders of the Knicks, was pretty much what he said in the interview, but it looks more put together when you see it, at least in my opinion, in written form, because you see it, on paper. And so that was one thing. And then Mark, from sources that he has talked to within the Knicks, heard certain things that I think Iowa and many of us were looking to get. And so it makes me feel good that we have a direction. Now, yesterday, Jay Ellis asked Mark about comparing the regime that we had now, the management regime, with past regimes. And he said he's worried about this regime, but the reason he gave that he was worried, if you listen carefully, was he doesn't have access to what they're thinking. Okay? And that's the media in general, the professional media in general is frustrated because Leon Rose is not talking to them. And in fact, the Knicks are stopping the players from talking to them. And I like that. I know it's not going to last because Mark mentioned that the NBA has contacted the Knicks about allowing reporters to have access in the locker room. So that's going to change somewhat. But I like actually that Leon is communicating with us this way. And the reason I like that, if you're in New York, now look, you cannot treat New York and the market of New York, which includes New Jersey, which includes Westchester County, which includes Lower Connecticut, which includes Long Island, and of course the 5 boroughs. You cannot treat that market like any other market in the United States, and even in the world when it comes to professional basketball. You cannot treat that market the same. Why do I say that? Because there are, at any given day, 20 million people coming in and out of the 5 boroughs. That's not including the 10 or so million on Long Island. That's not included, you got probably another 5 million coming from Jersey. You got a couple million coming from Connecticut. And then you got Westchester too. That's not even including the international. I'm finding international Knicks fans all over the world. Because in that type of media environment, things get tossed out of proportion. And why does that matter? Because in times past, the owner would be affected by that and make decisions based on media, blow up media, propaganda that really is explosive in New York because of the size of the market. So unlike, say, Oklahoma City or Dallas or any small market or any market like outside of New York. I mean, LA's a big market, but it's a completely different thing than New York City. New York City is more compact and intense than LA. And if you actually been to LA and you've been to New York, you know what I'm talking about. The energy is much more intense in New York. It's much more laid back because LA is like a spread out place. The closest you could come to New York is a place like Chicago or Philly or Boston, but even them are not like New York. So when something gets blown up in New York, it affects people. Nobody, not James Dolan, not nobody can say it doesn't affect them. No player, because it's that loud, it's that big. So therefore, Leon Rose, understanding that history and trying to rebuild a team, rebuild an organization and build it into a long-term sustainable winner, needs quiet. He needs to concentrate. He needs to focus. He needs to caucus with his wise men from within the organization and plan and not have distractions of the media messing with him. That's why I like what he's doing. That's why I like that he's quiet. And that's why I like how he puts out information like this. And if he wants to leak it, he leaks it to the MSG crew like a Ian Begley, or he might leak it like that. Give you a little taste. But also you have to look at what he's doing objectively. See, again, because of the intensity of the New York market and Knicks Nation, the intensity sometimes causes emotions that cause people to not think clearly and just be so frustrated and angry at things that they can't see what's going on. They can only see negative. But in this article, and what Berman said yesterday, gave me anyway, I hope it gave y'all, which is what I'm conveying to y'all this morning, a clear path, a plan of what we can expect going forward. Let's start with Tom Thibodeau before we even get to Leon Rose. What Berman said yesterday is that people inside the coaching staff talked to him and said privately Thibodeau disappointed in himself for not playing the younger players earlier. We have never heard, except once, and that was the last presser that Tibbs gave after the last game. One time he said, I make mistakes. He had never said that before. Y'all know that. He had never taken accountability for his mistakes. And then regret. He had never said anything about regretting anything. Berman said that he conveyed to his people that he should have went to the young people earlier. He should have changed the lineup. Things we were yelling about the whole season. And it also gave me more insight into Thibodeau. I mean, we know he's stubborn, right? We know he's stubborn. In fact, we talked about his insanity, his stubbornness that really crossed over into stupidity. But for him, if y'all know a stubborn person, and all of us are a little stubborn, but some are real stubborn, for a stubborn person to admit that they might have made a mistake on something, that's huge. That's big time. And the reason that Tom would do that is because above the stubbornness even, he wants to win. Berman also mentioned that the win-loss record, his career record, is very important to him. As I mentioned to y'all yesterday, out of 10 seasons as a head coach, he's only had 2 where he was under 500, and this was the second one. And so he was trying to win, and he felt like, of course, his default was veterans to win. And obviously it didn't work. And he is now saying, I should have went to some of these young players. You know why? Well, you saw how they started performing at the end of the season. Listen, you could call it the end of the season if you want, but if you look at the games, a lot of those teams they were playing were looking to try to get positioning in the playoffs. They were playing to win. And the Knicks were beating them with the young players. Okay? So we can't just dismiss that as end of the year tanking, because they weren't playing tanking teams all the time. Okay? So that's what we talk about. That's hope for the future. Also, I asked Berman about the young people in general, and I asked him about Deuce McBride in particular. And I said, my question was, I understood, as I told all y'all, Tom Thibodeau, and never in his career has started a rookie point guard on any team that he's coached. And so I said, it would be unrealistic for us to expect him to have started Deuce McBride. But I said, what is his plans in year 2? Is Deuce going to get an expanded role? And he said, definitely. He said Tom also thought he should have played Deuce more than he did. This is big. This is big. Couple things that Berman said bothered me, though. The main thing that bothered me is he used the word desperation in regard to the search for a point guard. I don't like the word desperation. And the reason I don't is because when you're desperate, you're liable to make an irrational decision. And I have come to the conclusion, as many of you have, that Jalen Brunson is not an $80 million basketball player. And I don't want the Knicks to spend $80 million on him. I am not saying he's not a solid point guard, but I'm saying we already have solid point guards. Let's break this down logically a little bit. We've seen Emmanuel quickly perform as the starting point guard. Okay, so maybe he won't get triple doubles like he did in the last couple times of the season. Maybe he won't get that all the time. But I think all of us can agree he performs better at that position than Alec Burks did. And Emmanuel Quickly's salary is going to be like $3 million. So think about it. Do you want a $3 million Emmanuel Quickly or a $20 million Jalen Brunson? I mean, seriously. Now, if you're talking about CP3, even at his advanced age, we don't have to talk about that, right? Of course, we're going to go with CP3. If you're talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, okay, we don't have no problem. But you're telling me Jalen Brunson, who was in the rotation, but as a backup until Tim Hardaway got hurt, you telling me you want to pay him $80 million? And you got Deuce, and you got IQ. Deuce is $1.5 million. Are you going to get that much more production? No, you're not. So it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Now, some of you mentioned Malcolm Brogdon. And a couple things about Malcolm Brogdon I want to just clarify here. Okay? When we're looking at players. Now, I want to just, come on, be honest with me, Knicks Nation. Listen to me now. Let's just call it player X. Player X is really good. Border all-star player X. But every year, you can guarantee he's going to miss 20 to 30 games. Listen to me now. So out of 82 games, he might, on the outside, play 62. More than likely, he's going to play like 56, 55 games. And he may not be available for the playoffs, but he's really good in those 55 games. You want it? Because it'll get old in year 2. I know Knicks Nation. Y'all going to be complaining, whining, he never plays, we overpaid him, it was a bad signing. He's going to get old in year 2. Think about that when you start running about players that get hurt. Somebody talk about, we got to go get AD. Are you kidding me? AD 29. He can't stay healthy to save his life. He was just healthy that one summer, that a shortened season, that the Lakers won this quote-unquote championship. He can't stay healthy. And none of his teams win because he can't stay healthy. Think about these things. This ain't NBA 2K. Look at what these players are doing. So let's talk about Malcolm Brogdon. Now, Malcolm Brogdon is really good, borderline all-star. Stays hurt. You know, Tom, first of all, y'all ain't gonna like the unavailability, but you know Thibodeau ain't gonna like it. But the reason now I'm thinking maybe that's a good idea is because we get Randall out of here, which I want. Okay, them salaries match. We get Randall out of here. Maybe we even get a pick, from Indiana for that. Not only that, but if you put Brogdon in here for the 55 games that he's going to play, well, that gives Deuce some chance to get minutes because Brogdon going to be hurt. That's guaranteed, okay? So you're going to get IQ and Deuce playing minutes because Brogdon going to be hurt. There's no doubt he's going to be hurt. Okay, so that is actually a good thing. And then his contract is 2 more seasons. So he got this year and next year. And I don't like that. I would like to have an expiring deal for Randall. Like, I really want Harrison Barnes to back up Obi, right? Because he's expiring and we got that cap space for next season. But if you're going to get a Brogdon, that's the benefit of it. You're going to get 55 games of him. And he's pretty good for 55 games. Don't look for him in the playoffs now. And then you're going to get IQ and Deuce getting rotation minutes because this cat's not going to play all the time. Especially the way Thibodeau, come on now. Thibodeau going to run that point guard 35 minutes. This cat ain't going to last. So yeah, bring him on. Long as you don't mind paying $20 million for the next 2 years for that. Okay. Because our kids will get some time. Okay. So I don't mind that. But for Thibodeau to admit, I should have played the kids more. I should have played Deuce McBride more. Huge. Big time. That brings us to Leon Rose. So Leon put yesterday, and the most important thing that he put, see, this is what I'm saying. So now, from Thibodeau's mouth, we already got, he should have played the youth more. Which means going into this season. Now, I want you to know what also came out yesterday that's important going into the next season now. They didn't do exit interviews. Of course, everybody was tripping out. Because, see what I'm saying? What you tripping out because they didn't do exit interviews at the time you thought they were going to do them? Everybody tripping out. Cats, everybody start tripping. See what I'm saying? Start running off and going off and acting like the Knicks, don't do anything right because they didn't get the exit interviews. Come on. Well, anyway, it came out yesterday that Thibodeau's going to do, he did actually interviews with the players and that he wants all the young players to come back in May so he can work with them one-on-one each and interview them and give them more depth after he gets to look at the film. Why would he do that now? Because he's planning on playing them next season. Thibodeau don't just play you. You know that. He needs to be able to trust you. So you got a whole bunch of guys that he's now got at least a year, sometimes 2 years with. And he knows now he's going to have to play some of them. Big minutes. So he's going to start in May working with them individually and collectively. Okay, that's very good news. Then we got the Summer League. I believe I asked Berman and he confirmed Jokubitis will be playing in the Summer League with the Knicks. There's a good shot he said he'll be playing. And that's good. That's good. I really like Jokubitis. And I think our future rotation is Jokubitis, Emmanuel Quickly, and Deuce. That's our point guard rotation and really a lot of our guard rotation right there. So I want to see more Jokubitis. But now I have hope. We have hope. Tibbs is going to focus on some of these younger players and bring them forward. And none of them will be rookies, right? Going into year 2. But, so, you're going to have Obi. You're going to have Obi. You're going to have RJ in this. RJ will be in his 4th season. Quentin will be in his 2nd. Deuce will be in his 2nd. Hunt is still a rookie, but because he hardly played. But they're going to have Hunt now. I liked Hunt. Emmanuel Quickly will be going into his 3rd season. Reddish in his 4th. Sims in his 2nd. Mitch Rowe will be in his 5th season. Obi will be in his 3rd season. So now you're getting some seasoning to some of these kids. And the ones that are going into their 2nd year, like a Deuce and a Quentin, Thibodeau handpicked those. Okay, so I like what we got going forward, y'all. Now, let's talk about Leon's. And let's talk about the statement he put out. And I'm only going to go to the pertinent parts. It was a pretty detailed statement. Like I said, it was pretty much word for word what he said in the interview. But now it's on paper. So look, let's start. I'm going to start the second paragraph. The 2021-2022 season did not end the way we would have liked, but it will serve as an integral learning experience for our team. Learning experience. Now, the question you would ask is, what did you learn? Let's keep going. When I arrived at this organization just over 2 years ago, I share with you my commitment to building a winning, hardworking group worthy of your support while emphasizing player and team development. Player and team development is code for building the right way long-term. Player, team development. I told y'all, when he went and got some of these vets, he short-circuited that. And I think he has what? Learned from that experience. I think Thibodeau now has learned from that experience. Let's keep going. These commitments remain true to this day. Let's see. And I am particularly proud, he says, of the growth, improvement, and fight of, notice what he says, our young core. Whenever somebody uses, and you've heard that term, not just from the Knicks, from other teams, whenever they use the term young core, that's another code for we are going to build our organization from this core group of young players. That's our young core. Look what he says after that. We currently have 9 players, 24 years of age or younger, and 8 players who are still in their first contracts. See, that's important, that first contract. That's what I'm saying to you. Why go get Jalen Brunson for $80 million when you've got Emmanuel Quickley and Deuce McBride on their rookie deal, who can do just as good? Okay? Let's continue. We recognize this team build will be a steady climb. He's telling y'all, you might lose some, but we building. Long-term sustainable winner. We're entering into the rebuild of what? Year 3. He's giving us the direction right here. But there are real examples of progress and success, especially from our young core, he mentions it again, that we can acknowledge and celebrate. He's talking about the young core. It's the second time he mentioned. Now, the 9 players he's talking about: Barrett, Grimes, McBride, Hunt, Quickley, Reddish, Sims, Robinson, Toppin. There's your young core right there. That's the 9 players he's talking about. Okay? Not including whatever may happen in the draft, which we don't know yet. But I think we can safely say, like, unless that draft pick is a top 5, like unless it's Jaden Ivey, Paolo, Jabari Smith, and Berman said that they're very high on Jabari above everybody, and then also second on their list is Ivy. Okay, and I agree with that. I told y'all that, right? I would get Jabari Smith regardless if I could get him, and Ivy too. So, and of course, if they get an Ivy, they're gonna make a trade because you can't play Ivy and play Grimes and play Deuce and play IQ. It's not going to work. Ivy's really a off-ball guy. He's not really a point guard, but he's a basketball player, and you want to put him out in the rotation as fast as you can, even as a rookie. But again, Tibbs never starts rookie point guard, but he will be forced to do that if this guy's a top 2, top 3 pick. There's no doubt. Okay, but that's unlikely, right? Because the Knicks are picking 12th. But that's what I'm saying. Unless they get somebody that high, you're probably going to get a guy at 12. In that 8 to 12 range, and they're probably not going to play. Okay? Just to be real with that, you're dealing with Tom Thibodeau. That guy is not, whoever that kid is, and we got a list, right? So, let me see. Let me go through my list here because, I got one more guy two more guys, one more guy to look at. 2 more guys to look at. Wendell Moore and Malachi Branham. But I got Jabari, Paolo, Jaden, Keenan Murray, Benedict Mathurin, who I like a lot. I mean, dang, Benedict Mathurin reminds me a lot of Cam Reddish, but better. And that's something. I like Ben Mathurin. Dyson Daniels and Sohan, which I love both of those kids. E.J. Liddell, Okai Agbaji, Wendell Moore, A.J. Griffin, Johnny Davis, and then Tari Eason. And then we're looking at Malachi Branham, who probably will be slotted below Tari Eason. Now, anybody from Dyson and Sohan down is not going to play next year. They might be on the team, obviously. They're going to practice. They're going to get more G League time. Even Dyson Daniels, who played a lot of G League last year, he played the whole year in G League. They won't get much time with Tom this first year. I don't care what you say there. Defense, like, I love the defense of Dyson Daniels. I got him on my list. I moved him and Sohan up above E.J. Liddell, and I like E.J. Liddell, but I moved them up, one spot to the 6th, and then moved down Liddell to the 7th. But I like those two kids, but they're not going to get a lot of time in their rookie year. Okay. So now you're dealing with these 9, and then really Farron Hunt's another guy. He's going to work really hard, but he's going to get garbage minutes. That's how this is going to work, y'all. But he's going to be on the team. He's going to work really hard. I already saw that from the few minutes he played. Forget the stats. When he was out there, he was trying hard. And you want somebody that's going to play hard. And Tom loves a kid that's going to play hard. He's only 22. He's 6'8". So, yeah, he's going to be on the squad. I hope so anyway. But that's what you're starting with. That's what Leon is talking about. That's the young core he's dealing with. Okay? Now, let's continue. In our ongoing commitment to deliver winning basketball and culture to you, the city of New York, we will continue to strategically utilize the valuable assets we have at our disposal. We possess 13 draft picks in the next 3 years, 4 in the first round, 9 in the second round. He did that mostly. I mean, Steve Mills started it. Got to give him that credit. He started it, not trading any first rounders. Now we got a plethora. We got the Danny Ainge style plethora of first round. And he didn't have to rob the Nets. He was doing business, man. So the Don got 13 draft picks in 3 years. Okay. 4 in the first, 9 in the second, providing us with a variety of ways to improve our team and complement our, again, for the third time, young core. Now, what does that mean? And yesterday, Berman and I, basically, when we talked to him, he outlined that. And I asked him for clarity. When you look at the thing, I asked him for clarity. I said, let me just make sure I got this right? He said, yep, that's it. This is it. The Knicks are going to build the right way with the core. Unless a superstar decides, I want to come to New York. Therefore, he's got all of these picks that he's ready to use, along with some of the young 9 that we got, to gain that superstar. Right now, as far as what we know, what's out there, what we know and it makes sense, there are 2 guys that are in that category, Zion Williamson and Donovan Mitchell. Those are the 2 dudes. Okay? Those are the 2 dudes. You might have, another dude that comes out of nowhere, like a Jimmy Butler. But I got to be honest, I got problems with Jimmy Butler. He went from Chicago, went to Minnesota, showed his behind in Minnesota so that he forced the trade to Philly, then started talking about Philly was crazy when he went to Miami. Now he fighting with Spoelstra on the sideline. So I'm not really feeling Jimmy Butler. But I know that's a Tom Thibodeau kryptonite right there. But that's up to Leon Rose. But I'm not feeling him. But I'm saying, if there's another guy that we don't know about, that's a superstar. Like, let's say Zach LaVine decides, I don't want to re-sign with Chicago. Let's just say he said that. I think there's a 90% chance he re-signs with Chicago. He just wants the number to be as high as possible, and I hear him. But let's just say, for no reason, I'm not saying that, I'm not putting out rumors out there. I'm not saying Zach LaVine wants to come to New York. I'm just using him as an example. Some of y'all don't listen to the video and come out with stuff like you did yesterday. Some of y'all Knicks Nation, a lot of y'all, most of y'all that do listen to the video. Could you help me out? I mean, you got people that look at the thumbnail. Why we drafting Johnny Davis? Who said we was drafting him? I think yesterday, didn't I say if we traded Quentin Grimes, we'd be looking for a wing like a Johnny Davis? That it was if we traded Quentin Grimes? Didn't I say that? Some of y'all need to listen to the video and stop. If all it was the thumbnail and the title, why would I do a video? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, what I'm saying now is, if a guy like a Zach LaVine decided in his own mind, he woke up one morning and said, you know what? I really don't want to raise my kids and my wife. I don't want us to be in Chicago. I think I want the bright lights of Broadway. Let's just say he did. We are in a position to get that done. See, right now, the focus, some people focus, and I understand, on the cap space. We don't have the cap space. But see, if you got the salaries, you don't need the cap space. The salaries are the cap space. You understand what I'm saying? So if we did a sign and trade and we included a Julius Randle and we included some young pieces who I don't even want to name, but let's say they did include some young pieces and draft capital, we could get that done. You understand? We can get that done. And that's what he's saying when he says we possess 13 picks in the next 3 years, providing us with a variety of ways to improve our team and complement our young core. So no matter what superstar, this is another thing y'all need to understand that some of the media trip out when it comes, especially to the Knicks. All of a sudden, we supposed to get fleeced every trade. We supposed to get fleeced because of the Carmelo Anthony trade. They'll never let us forget that. But we ain't getting fleeced like that no more. We're dealing with the Don now. So look, if we made a trade for a Zion or a Donovan Mitchell, okay, we got 9 young players. You ain't losing all 9. You ain't, okay? And let's take Hunt off the table for now, because Hunt's really not, he just got here. I'm not saying he's not going to be on the squad. I hope he is, but I'm just saying he's not part of that Obi, IQ, Grimes situation. You see what I'm saying? Cam Reddish. But of Obi, Grimes, Cam Reddish, Deuce, you're not going to lose all of them. RJ, you're not losing all of them. Okay? You're not. You might lose 3. You might lose 3 of them in a deal like that, but you're not losing all of them. So, let's say of the 8 guys that we got that are really the core, you might be left with still 5 at the end of a trade for a superstar. You might have to give up 3 of them. Okay? But you still got 5 left. So what he just said is true. So if you get a superstar, you use them picks to get a Zion or a Donovan Mitchell, he's coming to a team that has at least 5 of 8 really good players, young players that he's surrounded with. You understand? So that's what I mean. And that's what I liked about what he said. So in other words, what he's saying is we're going to build the right way. But if a superstar comes available, we'll be able to trade draft picks, to trade some young core, and still have young core for that superstar to join. This does not normally happen. Let me also tell you this. We talked about this a couple of days ago. Generally speaking, a superstar does it the way you saw Kyrie and Durant do it. In other words, they see that this organization is going in the right direction. They're pushing the playoffs. They developed a team, and they say, that team is just missing me. And they go over there. That's how generally it's done. Okay? Generally, a superstar wants to join another superstar on a team that's already on the upswing. That's generally how they want to do it. They don't want to try to carry a team, right? That's like a guy that gets drafted to a losing team and the team is losing, like Kevin Durant did in Minnesota. And he's by himself trying to push them forward. Then he ends up going to the Celtics, join what? Ray Allen, right? And Paul Pierce. And then they draft Rondo and they win a chip, right? That's how the superstar really wants to do it. So they don't normally just leave a situation to join another situation and try to be the man when they were already doing that where they were. But this is a unique situation. It's not normal. It's a unique. Why? Because New York is not normal. So what do I mean? Well, Zion is best friends with RJ Barrett. And in this case, that means a lot. That means a lot. If he came to New York, he's not trying to carry the team by himself. He got RJ next to him. And then they still got Reddish. These guys were cool, man. They all came to Duke together. And they're young. All of them 21, 22. So that matters in this scenario. Okay? I don't think Zion, in fact, I'm not 100% sure he does not want to stay in New Orleans. I'm 100% sure he doesn't. Now, he could change. He's still a young boy. And what do I mean by that? Young kids change their mind. You dating one girl one week and all of a sudden you in love. Now you quit and you dating another one. You in love with her. I mean, that's the way it goes when you're young, right? So he like 21 going on 22, right? So he could change his mind. But I'm telling you, right now, he wants out in New Orleans. He wants out. And he's trying to be nice about it. Okay. But his parents and him and his crew and his camp, they want out. So that might happen. Then there's Donovan Mitchell, whose father works in the New York Mets organization, who grew up with his father working in the New York Mets organization, who's a huge Met fan, who spends all summer in New York. And guess what? Utah and Dallas are playing in the first round. Now, on paper, Dallas is supposed to win this series. I'm saying 4-2. They're supposed to. I mean, not Dallas. Utah is supposed to win this series 4-2. They should. They should win this series 4-2. They're the better squad. They really are. Dallas is missing a huge piece in Tim Hardaway Jr. They got Dinwiddie coming off the bench. They got Brunson, but they really just got Luka and a bunch of players. That's what they got without Tim Hardaway Jr. That's what they got. Luka and whoever you could get uniform. And Luka not even played the first game. Okay. So they should, Utah that is, beat Dallas in the first round. Man, if they lose the first round, I'm telling you, there is no doubt you're going to hear the calls for Donovan Mitchell to come to New York all the way from Utah. Because that's going to, but I'm thinking Utah really should win. Okay, really they should. So let's see what happens. So that's a huge series right there. And it's the first round series. That's a huge series. So, but those are exceptions. That's not the rule in terms of getting a superstar. That's not the way it usually works. Okay. So therefore, the likelihood is we're going to come into this next season with a young core that is the focus, which is very good. And I think that's really good, especially for one season. I'm going to tell you right now, if they focus on those 9 players, especially those 8 that we're talking about, beside Hunt, that they focus on the 8 as the core, and they move, I'm assuming they're going to move Randall this summer. They're going to move Randall. They're going to move Burks. They're going to move Fournier. I'm assuming they move these 3, and the focus becomes Grimes, Cam, RJ, Deuce, Quick, Obi. And I'm assuming they're really going to push, and that's what Leon said, he's pushing to try to sign Mitchell Robinson all the way to July 1st. Mitch Rob probably wants to test the open market. But see, in today's NBA, the way the contracts are working, I'm not a contract expert. I think you'll agree with what I'm about to say. Generally, what they do is they put incentives in the contract to protect the team against injury or against a player that might be injured too often. So they might say, like, you got to pay at least 65 games if you're Mitch Rob. And we're expecting you to be top 5 in the East, in top 5 in the league in offensive rebounds. We're expecting you to be top 5 and top 10 in blocks. We're expecting you to play X number of minutes. So that way, you got incentive to get that money to stay healthy, right? So I think they're going to probably do that. What I don't know, maybe some of y'all can help me. The max they can offer him is $5.6 million, 55.6. That's the max the Knicks can offer him. 4 years, 55.6. Now, Mitch Rob, as we said, he's been getting $1.5 million for like 4 years. He's been totally underpaid. I mean, way underpaid. So he got to make up some money right here. So what I don't know is if they offer him the 55.6 as a base salary, can they offer him bonuses based on performance? So in other words, let's say the total contract is worth 72 or 65, but he's got to earn the difference between 55.6 and let's say in 72. He's got to earn that in bonuses. I think he stays in that scenario. Even if it's 65, I think he stays, right? So now you're getting a base salary of 14 million, but let's say you can add another million and a half based on incentives for like playing 65 games, for hitting certain amount of free throws, things like that. That'll motivate any player. They already do that with the contract to perform, at a higher level. So I think if they do that, and like I said, Leon is smart. When it comes to these contracts, man, he's done a tremendous job. So I think if we can re-sign Mitch Rob now, and also what Berman brought out, which Mitchell Robinson has tweeted about, he wants more touches offensively, and I can't blame him. But we know that the lack of a true point guard, Alec Burks, was stopping that, from happening. That if he gets a true point guard with an Emmanuel, or even Emmanuel Quickly, who I don't consider a true point, but if you're playing with a Quick or you're playing with a Deuce, brother, you're going to get the touches. And now he needs to work on some offensive moves, which I'm very confident he's going to do that this summer. So I'm not talking about 3-pointers. I'm talking about 10-foot jump shots, jump hooks, that type of thing. If he can add that to his repertoire, one dribble from 12 feet to the basket, in a dunk, something like that. And I think he can do that, and I think he will work on that. And of course, his free throws. These are things that, he's just part of his development at age 24, right? So I think that's the case. So if we can keep him, and even if we don't, we know we got backup plans, but I'd like to keep him. Okay. So now he says, we have worked hard to maintain financial flexibility, which is key to factor to developing the success of the league. And we are backed by tremendous support and resources from ownership. So he's got Dolan's got his back. That's good. Okay. These are all vital ingredients needed to manufacture a winning team. Our coaching staff is at the heart of our young core's development. Notice he mentioned the coaching staff. Tibbs don't really consult with the coaches. Remember many times after the games he would say, I'm going to consult with the coaches about who starts. That's some BS, right? Especially during games. He don't listen to the coaches. He does his own thing. And Berman confirmed that, which we already knew. What does this mean? Is Leon just BSing us? No, Leon is telling Tibbs, brother, I need you. I'm paying all of these. We paying these guys money, not to just sit around behind you. They got experience. Johnny Bryan is the associate head coach. If they start off slow, Berman confirmed Tibbs on the hot seat. And so he's getting advice from HR. Coaching staff is at the heart of the young core's development, sir. Confidence to compete at the highest level. To compete at the highest level. As confidence. Confidence. Isn't that what Obi mentioned? They asked Obi. And thing about Obi is he's genuine, man. Love that man. Love that young boy. Love Obi Toppin. He's genuine. When he's talking from honesty. He's trying to be cool, but he's talking honestly. I was afraid because I kept having to look over my shoulder. I was afraid I would get pulled if I make a mistake. But I saw Julius sit, I had to play, and he knew he wasn't going to get pulled. Look what happened. 20, 19, 35, 42. I don't care if that's G League daggone it. That's NBA. That boy was rocking. Not looking over his shoulder. And Berman is not high on Obi, and I disagree. Obi, all-star talent. I knew it coming out of Dayton, and I told y'all that. But I didn't know if he was going to get the opportunity. Well, you saw what happens when he gets the opportunity. He's an all-star talent. I don't know if he'll be an all-star next year. I don't think so. But give him another 2 seasons when he's like 26 in his prime. This boy's going to be a problem. He's going to be a real problem. See, people start looking at what it is now. But you got to look at the player's age. At 24, he's got upside. He's going to get better. He works really hard. That's the benefit of him coming under a Thibodeau. He was working really hard. He's going to get the most out of his God-given ability. When he does, he's going to be a problem. Okay? He's going to be a problem. Y'all remember the Matrix. I'm talking about the player, right? You remember the Matrix. This is the Matrix with a jump shot in the mid-range. Sean Marion, remember him? Yeah. Obi Toppin is that plus. Yeah, man. Anyway, he said, I kept looking over my shoulder. And then Berman said, Tom admits he doesn't have patience. Like, you got to perform right away or he's going to pull you. Well, he's got to adjust that now because he's dealing with the young core and he's already heard. You messed my confidence up, brother. Mr. Thibodeau, you messed up my confidence. I got all-star talent and you messing with my head. So hopefully our boy got the memo. So now he's mentioned young core 3 times. He talks about confidence in the young core. He talks about draft capital and flexibility. We got the plan. Okay. Finally, he mentions Thibodeau. We have seen multiple players take leaps over the last 2 seasons under Coach Thibodeau's tutelage and commitment to playing the right way. So he's trying to give Tibbs some props. All right, we got your back. Okay, but catch the memo, brother. Catch the memo. We plan to build a winning culture thoughtfully, and we have means to do so through the players and assets I outlined above. And he's right. So we got the plan. Build the young core. This is year 3 of the rebuild. Focus on the young core. Okay. And then if a superstar, a Zion, a Donovan Mitchell decides, I want New York, we got assets, we got young pieces, we got draft capital, we can get that done. That's where we at. That's where we at. And in terms of a point guard, that wasn't clear. But just logically speaking, the only guy that makes sense to me is Brogdon for the reasons I outlined. Brunson makes no sense to me. Not for $80 million. He just doesn't make any sense, man. I'm sorry. We got redundancy with him with Deuce. Except Deuce is younger and cheaper. Okay? Now, Quick is a different type of player, but he can play the same position. See, some of y'all love Brunson so much, but look, man, please. Brunson is playing next to a generational talent. A dude that at 16 was rocking the European League and came over here at 19 was already all-star level. You don't get that. That's a maestro. That's like a genius. That's a basketball savant right there. That's Luka Doncic. So if you can't play when you're playing next to Luka, that's like saying, like, okay, for example, if you notice when LeBron was in his prime, he came to a raggedy Cleveland Cavaliers team. I mean, they had nothing. And he took them to the finals. Everybody on that team looked better. That's what generational talents do. There's not a lot of those guys. Okay. So Brunson is playing next to that dude. Well, he should be going off. Okay. He should. But where's the generational talent IQ playing next to? Come on, y'all. You know what? Y'all overvaluing people, man. See, that's what happens in New York. You start hating on undervaluing your talent and overvaluing the other. And the media does the same thing. Start overvaluing the other talent. Brunson is okay. Okay. If you give him the ball, he'll be better than Elfrid Payton. He'll be better than Burks, but we already got that. We got it cheaper. Okay. So we don't need to be focusing on 80 million for a dude that we got two kids that's combined not making that kind of money. All right. For the next couple of seasons. So yeah, let's chill on this Brunson thing for a minute, man. Take your emotions out of it and look at this thing cold hard. You wouldn't be playing next to Luka here. All right. So